Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Let's all be honest with each other. We are here today, right now, because of anti-Semitic rhetoric from one member of this chamber said again and again and again. We would not be on this floor right now otherwise to discuss this topic. If that member was a Republican, that member's name would be in this resolution, and this resolution would be all about condemning anti-Semitism, and it would be done so forcefully.
Boy, it's really hard to argue that. If you're really going to be fair and rational about this, Lee Zeldin, local guy out of Long Island, see him an awful lot on Fox News. He's exactly right. So with that said, here's our guy, love this guy, dear friend, host of MTP Daily, 5 p.m. every afternoon on MSNBC, and of course, Meet the Press. If it's Sunday, it is Meet the Press. NBC Sundays, and if you don't know this, not everybody knows this about Chuck, and maybe he doesn't want them to, I don't know. But the truth is that much like myself, Chuck Todd is a very proud Jewish man. Very proud Jewish man. And when you see what's going on inside the Democratic Party, Chuck, I don't care what you do for a living or who you vote for, it doesn't matter to me. You cannot be okay with it and or happy about it, bottom line.
No, and what happens, and you know, here's what's, and it's something, sadly, that Jews are getting used to, because it's sadly a pattern in Western Europe, it's a pattern in this democracy, which is the fringe, if you will, when whatever it is, it's always the Jews that are somehow to blame for X, Y, or Z. And you have in this woman, in Congresswoman Omar, it's pretty clear to me, the best defense I can come up with for her is that it lives in a bubble. It's about the best defense I can come up with. Best explanation someone could come up with that's plausible is that she lives in a bubble that is very anti-Israel, a bubble that is very jaded, a bubble that is, you know, look, we know of bubbles on other issues that happen at times. She lives in a bubble that probably views Jews as less human or less whatever. And that's the problem. And there is a whole messaging system in that world, just like there is in different parts of our lives. And I think, like I said, that's the best explanation you can come up with.
Yeah, it's charitable.
And you know, I'd like her to, you know, you can criticize Israel and be a rabbi. You know, Israel is a political argument. You can have a political argument without attacking an entire people. And so there are plenty of rabbis. My rabbi is not the biggest fan of Bibi Netanyahu. Okay? And she makes it clear. She's not happy with some of the settlement policy. That's what Jews do. We do a good job of debating. Okay? You want to find out an opinion in Jewish politics, you get 2 Jews, you get 3 opinions. Right? Isn't that the great joke, Sid?
That's true.
So,
yes.
Right. I mean, so, you know, at a minimum, somebody needs to educate her that that what is Israel and the religion are 2 different things.
That is true, Chuck Todd. But would you say not that the first thing to do is to hold her accountable? And I would also add that we led up to this point because we didn't hold people accountable in Congress for being friends of Farrakhan. We didn't hold Senator Gillibrand accountable for writing tributes in Time magazine to Jew haters like Linda Sarsour. We let all that slide, and now it seems to be acceptable. It's let it all slide, and now they don't have the onions to actually call this woman out. They put this watered down resolution, which was embarrassing, and so that's why we're here.
Well, Bernie, look, I think Zeldin made a good point, and the fact is, this is true. You know, I've noticed that both sides of the aisle get more indignant when somebody on the other side does something that's hateful. And when it's one of their own, and I'm sorry, I'm tired of this. When this stuff happens with one of their own, and this has been, people are going to accuse me, oh, you're both siding it. It's not true. When it's one of their own, leadership somehow is more, well, they didn't quite understand, or, that isn't who they are. That's not the person I know.
That's fair.
Okay, but the problem is it leads to, I think, the perception that basically we only care about these issues when somebody on the, quote, other side does it. And this is becoming a very bad pattern in our politics. And it's, come on, it's very repetitive now. We look at it, we're seeing this constantly. And I think either we got to pull this stuff out of our politics, which will never happen, or we need to grow up.
All right, fair enough. That you're accurate in that, but when it comes to anti-Semitism, there is only one side of the aisle that owns that, and it ain't Trump's side.
I'm sorry. No. You cannot sit here and say there isn't these fringe elements that have surfaced on the right.
Give me some anti-Semites on the right. Give me some anti-Semites.
Okay, what I'm saying is, what was the Pittsburgh shooter's motivation?
No, I get that.
I'm saying it's a right-wing ideology. What I'm saying is the fringe right-wing ideologies and fringe left-wing ideologies agree on one thing. They hate the Jews.
Well, that's true. But I'm talking about politics. You're right about that. I'm talking about politicians. Brazen politicians.
Mainstream.
I can't find too many Republicans.
Well, I think Steve King's history is Steve King's history.
That's one guy.
That's fair, and they did strip him of all his committee assignments.
Right, that's right. And they stripped him, and this lady is still on the committee.
I will say this. I don't know how they've not done something. At least taken her off that committee.
Okay, fair. There you go.
Done. And I gotta think that one more. I mean, look what the Democrats did this week. They spent the entire time dealing with this week. You know, in some ways they were handed different gifts, and just in the same way, they stepped on that by having their own fight about this.
Well,
so, they sat here all week long. They're going to have and then by the time they wrote that resolution, did you read that resolution?
Yeah, it was a joke.
It was sort of absurd.
It was a joke.
It was like a parody.
Yeah.
I mean, there was, unfortunately though, I noticed they're allowing puppy haters. And I'm just outraged.
Puppy haters.
They did not.
That's funny.
Not condemn puppy haters.
Yeah.
It's embarrassing.
Well, by the way, Chuck, they're all gearing up anyway. I know Bernie Sanders, Brooklyn College last week, and Massachusetts, and he's the favorite right now. But you can just take a breath. Not you specifically, Chuck, but folks on the left could take a breath because it turns out that the much anticipated arrival of Joe Biden is about a month away now. Officially, they're saying mid-April he will come out. So all the Dems can take a little bit of a breath when when their guy, Joe Biden, finally announces he's running, which we are hearing today will be in mid-April.
I have to say, it's pretty clear he's made phone calls and he's let people like Michael Bloomberg know he's running and Sherrod Brown know that he's running. He's clearing that sort of mainstream lane a bit, trying to, the white guy lane, if you will. And he's clearly done that. But I have to say, did you check out James Carville's comment yesterday about Joe Biden?
No.
I got to think you guys, oh
what
my
is
God,
that?
you guys will like it. He said, the only institution in the world that's led by 80-year-old people is the Roman Catholic Church.
Oh, wow. So, listen, I'll tell you something.
Wow.
Chuck,
you're just sitting there, you're like, wait a minute, what happened? What did Biden ever do to James Carville?
But even
Number
worse.
one. But that's a tough line, and there's some truth to that.
There's even worse, Chuck Todd, is the Washington Post dropped a safe on Joe Biden yesterday. They released some old things that he said, one about busing. Quote, what it says, this is Biden, what it says about busing is, in order for your child with curly black hair, brown eyes, and dark skin to be able to learn anything, he needs to sit next to my blonde-haired, blue-eyed son. That's racist. And then on reparations, Joe Biden said, I don't feel responsible for the sins of my father and grandfather, and I'll be damned if I feel responsible to pay for what happened 300 years ago. Joe Biden said those things, and worse, about predators, and Hillary got killed for the predators thing on the crime bill. Biden said worse. I think that's problematic for him in a big way.
I do, too. I think it's death by 1,000 cuts. But that said, it is a reminder that Joe Biden, the reason he's thought of as a formidable candidate is that he's been in the mainstream of American politics for 40 years. The reason he may not get the Democratic nomination, he's been in the mainstream of American politics for 40 years, right? That's the problem. The Democratic Party's moved. What Joe Biden said at that time wasn't not only not controversial, it was probably praised by folks left of center who said, yeah, that's an open mind. That was where the conversation was in the early 70s.
Right. Not
anymore. Isn't where the conversation is today.
Nope.
And that's Joe Biden's greatest strength and weakness.
That's
He's
great.
Been in the mainstream
for
point. 50 years.
Give us who are some of the big names we'll see on whether today on MSNBC or certainly Sunday on Meet the Press.
Well, unfortunately, I have not got my confirmations yet, so I can't say them.
All right. Well, it's going to be great either way.
We're close. It's Friday morning. It better be.
Right.
You better be watching And I want Bernie to catcall me at least once.
You can count on it, Chuck Todd.
All right, Chuck, you're great as always, buddy. Have a great weekend.
Guys.
All right, thank you. There he is, the host of MTP Daily every afternoon, 5 p.m. on MSNBC. And then, of course, Meet the Press Sundays on NBC. Look how good Matt Meany is. He's so good. You really are, Matt. Fred Norris, got nothing on you. We're going to come back. Hour number 2 of Bernie and Sid on this Shabbos Friday. My dear friend Heshy Organbaum. You don't like the Jews? F you.